Strength, that word gets thrown around so much, it almost loses its meaning. From the time we're kids, we're told to be strong. We hear it at funerals. We hear it on the field. We hear it when life knocks the wind out of us. And somewhere along the way, many of us came to believe that being strong means hiding. That strength means putting on a face, locking up your emotions, and never letting anyone see you sweat. But let me tell you something. That's not strength. That's survival. And survival might get you through the night, but it won't let you truly live. The illusion of strength is dangerous because it feels real. You tell yourself, I'm good. I don't need anybody. You walk into the room with your chest out, your head high, like nothing can touch you. On the outside, people clap for you. They say, look at them. They got it all together. But what they don't see is the storm raging inside. They don't see the nights you can't sleep, the weight you carry on your chest, the silent prayers you whisper that nobody ever hears. And because you've trained yourself to hide it so well, nobody ever will. That's the illusion. It looks like strength, but it's a mask. And here's the truth about masks: wear them long enough, and you start to believe that's your real face. You convince yourself that emotions are weakness, that tears are shameful, that vulnerability is dangerous. And in doing so, you cut yourself off from the very things that make you human. You stop connecting. You stop trusting, you stop feeling, you stop living. Think about how many people are out there right now carrying invisible weights. They're at work smiling, they're at dinner laughing, they're posting pictures that say, I'm fine, but deep inside they're screaming, see me, help me, hold me. But they don't dare say it because they think strength is silence. They think strength is never needing a shoulder. They think strength is swallowing every emotion like bitter medicine. And yet the irony is the strongest thing they could ever do is admit, I'm not okay. There's a difference between looking strong and being strong. Looking strong is about performance. It's about keeping up appearances, never letting the cracks show. But being strong is about facing yourself honestly. It's about having the courage to look in the mirror and say, I'm hurting, but I'm still here. I'm afraid, but I won't run. I'm broken, but I'm not finished. That kind of strength doesn't come from pretending. It comes from embracing. I'll tell you why this illusion is so costly. Because people can't love the mask. They can only love the person behind it. And if you spend your whole life wearing the mask, nobody ever really knows you. Nobody ever really sees you. And when you're not seen, you're not loved, you're admired maybe, you're respected maybe, but love not fully. And deep down, that's what we're all hungry for. So let's be real tonight. Some of you are tired. You're tired of pretending, tired of holding it together, tired of carrying the world on your shoulders with no one to share the weight. And yet, when someone asks you how you're doing, you lie. You say, I'm good. And why? Because you've been taught that strength means never showing weakness. But I'll tell you, real weakness isn't in showing. Real weakness is in hiding. Real weakness is in living a life where nobody truly knows who you are. Think about the cost of that illusion. You lose intimacy, you lose trust, you lose the chance to let someone love you as you are, not as you pretend to be. And the longer you hold on to the illusion, the more isolated you become. The illusion of strength doesn't protect you. It imprisons you. And the walls you build around yourself don't keep the pain out. They keep the healing from getting in. But here's the good news: illusions can be shattered. And when they are, you're free to feel again, free to connect again, free to live again. And maybe the most powerful thing you could ever do in your life is not to show the world how strong you are, but to let the world see how human you are. Because when you show your humanity, when you open the door just a little, that's when people step closer. That's when hearts connect. That's when healing begins. So ask yourself tonight, are you living in the illusion of strength? Or are you ready to step into the reality of it? Because one will keep you stuck, but the other will set you free. And deep down, you already know which one you were made for. If this is speaking to you right now, if you've felt the weight of that mask and you're tired of carrying it, then this moment is for you. This is your call to lay it down, to stop pretending, to stop hiding, and to finally allow yourself to be seen, because the illusion of strength has cost you enough, and the real thing is waiting for you. Fear is a master of disguise. It rarely walks into your life announcing itself. It dresses itself up as logic, as caution, as wisdom. It whispers in your ear, don't take that risk. you're not ready, and convinces you that playing it safe is the smart thing to do. Fear doesn't always come screaming. It often comes softly, quietly, in the voice of self-doubt, in the weight of hesitation, in the endless list of reasons you should stay where you are instead of moving forward. That's the price so many of us pay without even realizing it. We let fear decide the direction of our lives while convincing ourselves we're in control. Think about how often fear makes the choices for us. How many times did you have a dream burning inside you, but you told yourself it's not the right time? How many times did you want to speak up in a meeting, but you swallowed your words because you feared looking foolish? How many times did you want to love fully, but you held back because the thought of rejection felt heavier than the possibility of joy? Fear is not just about being scared of the dark. It's about being scared of the light inside you. And if you're not careful, fear will have you believing that silence is safer than truth, that comfort is better than growth, that numbness is easier than pain. But let's get real. Fear is expensive. It costs you your potential. It costs you opportunities. It costs you relationships that could have been victories, that could have been won, lives you could have touched. Every time you let fear sit in the driver's seat, you shrink a little more, and your life becomes smaller than it was meant to be. And the tragedy of it is that most of us won't even realize how much fear took from us until it's too late, until we look back and see a trail of chances we never took, words we never said, and dreams we never lived. Now, don't get me wrong, fear has a purpose. It's there to protect you, to keep you alive. But when fear moves from protecting you to controlling you, that's when it becomes poison. It convinces you that safety is the highest goal in life, when in reality, the highest goal is growth, love, connection, and purpose. And none of those things can be found inside your comfort zone. They're all waiting for you just outside the line fear has drawn around your life. I know this isn't easy because fear feels real. Your hands shake, your voice cracks. Your heart pounds, it's physical, it feels like danger. But most of the time, what you're facing is not a lion ready to tear you apart. It's not life or death. It's the fear of being seen, the fear of failing, the fear of not being enough. And those fears, if you let them, will cage you tighter than any lock and chain ever could. The truth is, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward while fear is screaming at you to stop. Courage is standing in the middle of your shaking hands, your racing heart, and saying, I'm going anyway. And the beautiful thing is, the moment you step through fear, it loses its power. What felt like a wall turns out to be a doorway. What looked like a monster turns out to be nothing more than a shadow. We've all seen people live small because of fear. The person who stays in a job that's killing them inside because they're afraid of failure. The person who never opens their heart again because the last time they got hurt. The person who won't step onto the stage, won't take the risk, won't chase the dream because fear convinced them it's better to never try than to try and fall. But the question is, do you want to look back at your life and say, I survived? Or do you want to look back and say, I lived? Because there's a big difference. Fear is the most persuasive liar you will ever meet. It tells you you're not ready, you're not capable, you're not worthy. And if you listen too long, you'll start to believe it. But you don't have to. You can stand in the face of fear and say, not today, not anymore. Because the truth is, everything you've ever wanted, everything that makes life full and meaningful is waiting for you on the other side of fear. So let me ask you, what fear has been running your life? What dream have you put on hold because fear told you it wasn't safe? What words are you still holding in your heart because fear told you no one would listen? Tonight, it's time to take a step, even if it's small, even if your knees are shaking, even if your voice trembles, because fear has taken enough from you, and it's time to start taking your life back. We live in a world that glorifies toughness. Everywhere you look, you're told to harden up, tough it out, keep moving. Don't let them see you sweat. From the time we're young, the message is drilled into us that vulnerability is weakness, that showing emotion is dangerous, that exposing your heart makes you soft. And because of that, so many people wear masks. They wake up every morning, put on that armor, and walk out into the world pretending to be bulletproof. But let me tell you something, pretending doesn't make you strong. It just makes you hidden. And the more you hide, the more you lose touch with who you really are. The cost of invulnerability is authenticity. Think about it. How many times have you said, I'm fine, When you were breaking inside, how many times have you laughed at a joke you didn't think was funny just to blend in? How many times have you acted like something didn't bother you when it kept you up all night? Every time you do that, you sell a piece of yourself. And slowly, piece by piece, you become a stranger to your own soul. That's the price of building walls. They don't just keep pain out, they keep your true self locked in. See, vulnerability is honesty. It's the courage to say, I'm struggling. It's the boldness to admit, I don't have it all together. It's the strength to open up and let someone else see the cracks in your armor. But when you run from vulnerability, you also run from truth. And truth is the foundation of real connection. You can't have real love without vulnerability. You can't build real trust without vulnerability. You can't find real purpose if you're too busy hiding the parts of yourself that actually matter. Now, let's be honest. Vulnerability isn't glamorous. It's messy. It's scary. It leaves you exposed, and that's why so many people avoid it. They'd rather lie behind a polished image than risk being seen as imperfect. But what they don't realize is that imperfection is the most human thing about us. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with realness. They don't love you because you've got it all figured out. They love you because you're willing to let them see the parts of you that are still figuring it out. The tragedy is that when we avoid vulnerability, we trade depth for surface. We trade intimacy for performance. We trade being known for being noticed. And that trade will leave you empty every single time, because deep down, every human being longs for one thing: to be seen for who they really are. And if you're hiding, if you're acting, if you're performing, then nobody ever gets to truly see you. They just see the mask. And the mask might win you applause, but it will never give you peace. There's a story we've all lived at some point, the story of carrying a burden in silence. Maybe it was grief, maybe it was shame, maybe it was failure, maybe it was fear, and you held it in because you didn't want anyone to see you as weak. You smiled when you wanted to cry. You kept moving when you wanted to stop. You kept saying yes when you wanted to scream no. And people around you might have admired your strength, but deep inside, you knew the truth. It wasn't strength, it was survival. And survival is not the same as living. So why do we pay this price? Why do we choose invulnerability? Because somewhere along the way, we believed the lie that people will only love us if we're flawless, only respect us if we're unshaken, only accept us if we never fall apart. But that's not true. The people who matter most in your life don't want your mask. They want your soul. They don't want your performance. They want your presence. And until you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you'll never experience the freedom of being fully loved, fully known, fully accepted. Let me remind you, vulnerability is not weakness. It is power. It takes far more strength to open your heart than it does to close it. It takes more courage to admit you're afraid than it does to pretend you're not. It takes more bravery to tell the truth than to keep wearing the lie. And the reward for choosing vulnerability is that you get to live fully alive. You get to breathe without the weight of pretense. You get to love without the fear of rejection controlling you. You get to stand in your truth and know that no matter what happens, at least you are real. So I ask you, what masks are you still wearing? What truth are you still hiding? What pain have you buried so deep that you've convinced yourself it's not even there anymore? Tonight might be the night you take the first step in peeling back those layers, in dropping the act, in letting yourself be seen, not the polished version, not the armored version, but the real, unfiltered, imperfect, powerful you. Because when you dare to be vulnerable, you don't just free yourself, you give permission for others to do the same. And that's how we change, not by pretending we're invincible, but by admitting we're human. We've all been taught to chase after control of our image, control of our circumstances, control of how people see us. Somewhere deep inside, we think if we can just manage everything, if we can keep the reins tight enough, then maybe we won't get hurt. Maybe we won't fail. Maybe we won't be embarrassed. But let me tell you, control is an illusion. You can pour every ounce of energy into controlling your life, but life will always have a way of humbling you. It will remind you again and again that no matter how tight you grip, some things are beyond your hands. And that's where vulnerability steps in. Vulnerability says, I don't have all the answers. I don't know how this will end. I don't know if I'll succeed or if I'll fall flat on my face, but I'm still willing to show up. That's power. That's courage. See, When you give up the obsession with control, you step into something far greater freedom. Freedom to risk, freedom to fail, freedom to try again. Without vulnerability, you don't live, you just manage. And life isn't meant to be managed, it's meant to be experienced. Think about it. How many opportunities have been lost because of the fear of what might happen? How many times have you stayed silent when you had something to say simply because you couldn't control how it would be received? How many times have you held back your gift, your dream, your love because you wanted a guarantee before you stepped out? That's the price of invulnerability. It tricks you into thinking you're safe, but really you're stuck. It convinces you you're protecting yourself when really you're limiting yourself. And the saddest part is that people confuse safety with strength. But safety is not strength. It's just comfort. And nothing great, nothing meaningful, nothing world-changing has ever been born in the comfort zone. Every breakthrough, every achievement, every act of love, every story of transformation has come because someone dared to walk into the unknown without a guarantee. They stepped forward without control, but with faith, with courage, with the willingness to risk being seen. Now, don't get me wrong. Vulnerability doesn't mean recklessness. It doesn't mean you pour your whole heart out to every stranger you meet. It doesn't mean you stop thinking and planning. What it does mean is that you stop waiting for certainty before you live. It means you stop demanding guarantees before you try. It means you stop hiding your truth just because you can't control how people will respond to it. That's the key: living real, even in the face of uncertainty. Here's the truth. Vulnerability will cost you something. You might be misunderstood. You might be rejected. You might fail. But invulnerability will cost you more. It will cost you authenticity. It will cost you connection. It will cost you joy. And when you look back on your life, you won't regret the moments you risked and fell. You'll regret the moments you never dared to try. You'll regret the words you never said, the love you never gave, the opportunities you never seized because you were too busy clinging to control. So many people live half lives because they're waiting for the perfect time, waiting until they feel ready, waiting until the risk is gone. But that day never comes. Life isn't waiting for you to feel safe. Life is calling you to step into the arena right now, with the trembling, with the fear, with the uncertainty, and still give it everything you've got, because the fullness of life is found not in perfection, not in control, but in presence. Showing up as you are, no mask, no guarantee, no script, just you. And I want you to think about this every time you let someone see the real you. You give them a gift. You remind them they don't have to be perfect either. You show them it's okay to stumble. It's okay to not know. It's okay to be human. Vulnerability isn't just about freeing yourself. It's about setting others free too. Because when you're real, you create space for others to be real. And that's where true connection begins. That's where community grows. That's where love thrives. So ask yourself, are you living to be safe or are you living to be alive? Are you gripping so tightly to control that you've forgotten how to breathe, how to risk, how to feel? Or are you willing to loosen that grip, open up, and step into a life that may be uncertain, but will always be worth it? Because if you want to experience the depth of love, the fullness of purpose, and the beauty of real connection, you've got to be willing to be vulnerable. And the question is, are you ready to take that step? Let me tell you something. One of the biggest lies we've been sold is that if you keep your guard up, you'll protect yourself from pain. If you don't let people in, if you keep your feelings tucked away, you'll be untouchable. But here's the reality. Walls don't just keep the hurt out. They also keep the love out. And when you live behind walls, you don't just avoid pain, you avoid life, you avoid connection, you avoid joy. We live in a world that glorifies toughness, that praises the person who never flinches, never cries, never admits weakness. We admire the image of someone who seems unshakable, untouchable. But let me ask you, what kind of life is that? Because strength isn't about pretending you don't feel. Strength is about being able to feel it all and keep moving forward anyway. That's real power. That's what makes someone unstoppable. Think about it. The relationships that matter most in your life, did they grow because you pretended to be perfect? Or did they grow because at some point you let your guard down, you allowed yourself to be seen flaws and all? Love doesn't thrive in perfection. It thrives in honesty. And honesty requires vulnerability. You can't truly be loved if you're never truly known. And you can't be truly known if you're hiding behind an image of who you think you're supposed to be. The price of invulnerability is isolation. It's walking through life surrounded by people, but never really letting anyone get close. And yes, it might feel safer in the moment, but long term, it's the loneliest road you'll ever walk, because deep down, we're all wired for connection. We crave it, we need it. And when we deny ourselves the chance to be vulnerable, we deny ourselves the very thing that makes life worth living, love. Now, let me be clear. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's courage in its purest form. It's standing in front of someone with your heart open, knowing they could hurt you, but choosing to show up anyway. That's courage. That's strength. Anybody can hide. Anybody can wear a mask, but it takes guts to stand in the light with nothing to shield you and still say, "This is who I am, Bon." And here's the truth. Yes, vulnerability will hurt sometimes. There will be moments when you open your heart and it doesn't go the way you hoped. Moments when you trust and that trust is broken. Moments when you share your truth and it isn't received the way you wanted. That's real. That's part of life. But let me tell you, those moments don't define you. What defines you is that you dared to try, that you were willing to be real. Because every risk you take to open up brings you closer to the life you're meant to live. The alternative, hiding, pretending, protecting yourself at all costs, that might shield you from a little pain, but it will also rob you of the joy that comes from real connection. It will rob you of the chance to be loved for exactly who you are. And it will leave you asking at the end of it all if you ever really lived. When you look back on your life, you won't remember the moments when you played it safe, when you stayed comfortable, when you kept your walls up. You'll remember the moments when you dared to speak your truth, when you risked being seen, when you chose love even though it scared you. That's the life worth remembering. That's the life worth living. So I want you to think about this. What walls are you hiding behind? What mask are you still wearing? What part of yourself are you still keeping locked away because you're afraid of being hurt? And then I want you to imagine how your life would change if you chose to step out from behind those walls, even just a little. If you chose to be brave enough to let yourself be seen, to let yourself be loved, to let yourself live. Because the truth is, the cost of vulnerability is nothing compared to the cost of invulnerability. One gives you scars. The other gives you emptiness, and I promise you the scars will heal, but emptiness, that stays. So the question is, are you going to keep protecting yourself from life, or are you going to step into it fully with courage, with honesty, with your heart open? The choice is yours. There comes a point in life when you realize that carrying the weight of what other people think about you is the heaviest burden you'll ever hold. It's invisible, but it wears you down. It bends your back. It steals your peace. You wake up each day measuring your worth by someone else's opinion, someone else's approval, someone else's applause. And if they don't clap, you feel like you're failing. That's no way to live. That's not freedom. That's a prison. When you let other people's voices dictate your choices, you stop living your life and you start living theirs. You stop chasing your calling and you start chasing their validation. You begin to shrink yourself so they'll be comfortable. You begin to dim your light so they won't feel threatened. You begin to silence your truth so they won't criticize you. And one day you look in the mirror and realize you don't even recognize the person staring back. That's what happens when you pay the price of invulnerability by living for others. It costs you yourself. But let me ask you this. What is the value of a life where every step, every word, every decision is shaped by fear of what someone else might say? The people you're so worried about, the ones whose opinions keep you up at night, they're not carrying your struggles. They're not paying your bills. They're not walking in your shoes. Yet somehow you've given them the power to control the direction of your life. And the truth is, no matter what you do, somebody's going to have something to say. If you succeed, they'll talk. If you fail, they'll talk. If you stand still, they'll talk. So why not do what you were born to do? Why not live boldly, live fully, live vulnerably, knowing that their words can't define you unless you let them? Think about the people who inspire you, the ones whose lives made an impact. They weren't the ones who blended in, who played it safe, who hid from criticism. They were the ones who dared to be different, who opened themselves up to judgment, who risked being misunderstood because they understood something important. Living with courage will always draw criticism, but living without it will always bring regret. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. It takes strength to stand in the middle of the storm and say, I will not bend to the voices around me. It takes grit to wake up every day and choose your own path when you know there will be people waiting to tear you down. But that's what true freedom looks like. Freedom isn't living without opposition. Freedom is living without permission. It's moving forward even when people don't clap. It's being rooted enough in who you are that no opinion can shake your foundation. And here's the truth. When you stop worrying so much about what others think, you give yourself permission to grow. You open the door to opportunities that fear would have kept you from walking through. You start saying yes to dreams that once felt impossible. You start realizing that the life you want has always been waiting on the other side of courage. And suddenly, the voices around you don't sound so loud anymore because the voice within you has finally taken its rightful place. There's a freedom that comes when you finally say, I don't need everyone to understand me. I don't need everyone to like me. I don't need everyone to agree with me. Because the truth is, you don't. You weren't created to be accepted by everyone. You were created to be authentic, to be real, to be you. And not everyone can handle the real you. Some people will walk away. Some people will talk about you. Some people will misunderstand you. And that's fine. Let them. Because what you'll find is that the right people, the ones who matter, will see your vulnerability as strength, not weakness. They'll respect your honesty. They'll value your courage. They'll love you for who you truly are. Life is too short to keep your head bowed to opinions that don't build you. Too short to keep chasing approval that won't satisfy you. Too short to keep hiding parts of yourself just to keep people comfortable. At the end of the day, the only person who has to live with your choices is you. So make choices that bring you peace, not applause. Make choices that honor your calling, not the crowd. Make choices that reflect your heart, not their expectations. Because when the noise fades, when the voices fall silent, when all that's left is you and the reflection in the mirror, the question will be simple: did you live your life? Or did you live theirs? So I'll leave you with this. Stop giving the world control over a story that only you were meant to write. Stand tall, open your heart live fully, and let the world adjust to your truth. And if this is reaching you right now, if you feel that tug in your spirit, don't just hear it, live it.